Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Welcome back to a new video. My name is Maneetpal Singh. Today I'll be talking about my experience quitting Gmail and switching to a service called Hey Email. I know this sounds really ridiculous, but for the past several months and even years now, honestly, I've been really annoyed that my email address is not maneethball@gmail.com. My name is spelled pretty uniquely, so I could almost always get Maneethball as my username, but when I made my Gmail account, I was young and I made it my full name, and I regret that decision ever since. I even got to the point where I tried emailing the real person who owns maneethball@gmail.com and tried buying the email address, but they weren't really interested in that. And I basically jumped on the opportunity to create a brand new email account, maneethball@hey.com, without even thinking twice of the repercussions I would have for switching an email address that I've had for over 10 years now. I'm going to break this video into two different segments. First, I'm going to talk about my experience switching email addresses in the year 2020, what that whole process was like. And then secondly, I'm going to give you guys a demo and some information of why I feel Hey Email is the future of email. So if you're interested in hearing what it's like to change your email address in 2020 to a new service that's completely different, keep on watching. The first thing I want to discuss is what it's like to change your email address. Regardless of you're switching to Hey Email or any other service, changing your email address is not a simple task. The best way to describe it is changing your email address is like changing your physical address. If you change your address, you have to tell people where to find you and make sure they don't keep going back to your old place. And for me, that's exactly what I wanted to do. If I was going to switch my email address, I wanted to go all in. I didn't want to have the situation where half my accounts were on my Gmail and the other half were on my hey.com. I decided to make the switch and make everything use maneethball@hey.com. Now let me get into the details of how I actually did this. The first thing I want to mention is that I use a password manager, and this is really, really important. If you don't know what a password manager is, I have a whole video about this. Just check that out first. During this process of switching email addresses, I use it as an opportunity to update all my passwords across all my accounts. And I strongly recommend using randomly generated passwords when you make passwords for any website. In the past, you would just use something that you remember, and oftentimes the same password would be used across multiple websites. And I was shocked to see how many old accounts I had that were using the same password. So now I feel very, very secure in making sure all my frequently used accounts, all my important accounts, have random passwords that I don't even know. They're all stored in my password manager. So this is a great opportunity for a security checkup. The second thing I want to mention is that on Hey Email, you cannot import any of your old emails to your new account. You're starting fresh. So for some people, this is not a big deal at all. Like for me, I love starting new once in a while. It's a really good feeling. But for others, it's sometimes a really big deal where you can't import all your old stuff into a new account. Anyways, the way I started this process of switching to maneethball@hey.com was change all my social media accounts and also my Amazon account over to the new email address. And this was really important to me because these are the accounts I use every single week. And the most frequently accessed accounts I have are Amazon and social media. So I just wanted to get those out of the way. No questions asked. I did that the first day. The next thing I did was set up forwarding for my Gmail to my hey.com. And this was really important because I knew I didn't want to miss any emails still going to my Gmail. It was really easy to set this up. And a cool little trick that I learned is if you're using hey.com, you can do a plus sign and then enter a label in the forwarding address. So for me, my Gmail is forwarding to Maneethball plus gmail@hey.com. And then in my hey.com account, any email coming from that address will be labeled as Gmail. So I can quickly see if something is coming from my Gmail account and then make a change like updating the address in those services that I might have missed. And on top of that, in my Gmail, I also have an autoresponder set up. So if anyone in my contacts tries to email me using my Gmail account, they'll automatically get a response saying, hey, your email was forwarded to this new email address. No action needed, but here you go for future reference. And honestly, once these steps were done, I really just closed my Gmail tab out and I haven't really looked back on that ever since. There have been a few occasions where I've gone back and had to dig through some old emails I was looking for, but besides those few moments, having a new account has been really, really painless. Over time, I would continue to update more accounts to use my new address so they wouldn't be forwarded anymore. So for example, on payday last month, I went through and updated all my financial accounts because I would update my budget on that day. So that was a really quick way to get more accounts using my new address and not being forwarded through Gmail anymore. And over time, there have been a few other websites where I've done that for too. Looking back now, I don't think I would change the way I handled my switch from Gmail to hey.com hey.com. There's actually even a guide now on hey.com's website, which I'll link below, specifically for Gmail if you want to learn more about it. All right, moving on, I want to spend a little time actually giving you an overview of why Hey is such a cool email service. They have a very in-depth video about this on their website that goes through every single feature, but I want to give you a demo of what the gist of it is and some of the core changes that are there compared to using Gmail. All right, this is my demo of Hey Email. This is what it looks like. This is the interface when you open it up on the Mac. This is what you see. It looks very similar on both your phone, on the Hey app, as well as the website. If you go to hey.com and log in over there, it looks pretty much exactly the same no matter where you access the email from. Now, the first philosophy I want to talk about is Hey has this philosophy that there should be no notifications. And by default, all alerts for the email app are turned off, which is absolutely amazing and very different than every other email service that I've used. So when you get a new email in Hey, you don't get any alert. Not on your phone, not on your computer, there's no alert anywhere. And they even take that a step farther. If you were to get a new email, you wouldn't see anywhere over here like number 3 for unread or anything like that. And down at the bottom over here, you wouldn't see like any icon on the dock icon either. It'll just be the regular icon. So there's no way to know that you have a new email until you go into the inbox. And that is a beautiful thing about this. Now, you can turn on specific alerts if you want. So say I go to this Amazon contact over here and I open it up, and you could turn on this alert if you want to. So whenever someone from this email address emails me, I'll get an alert. And this is great for specific people or specific email threads, but by default, I absolutely love that they've turned this off and you don't have to worry about getting 100 alerts for every email you get. So I love that philosophy. The next thing I want to talk about in Hey is the philosophy of letting email just flow. And this is a huge change of perspective for most people. And let me show you what I mean by that. And if you are someone who likes to have inbox 0, like in Gmail, or nothing in your inbox at all, this is a huge change of mentality. And the reason why they did this is because traditional email, there's a pressure that's put on you. When you get a new email in your inbox, you have to act on it. You have to find something to do with it. You have to put it somewhere, whether it's reading it, filing it away, deleting it, archiving it. There's always this whole clutter of things that you have to deal with in one way or another. In Hey, you don't do that at all. In fact, the whole philosophy is once you receive an email in your inbox and read it, it just ends up in previously seen. And once you have it in the previously seen section, it's just a never-ending flow of emails. And that's intentional. With that being said, it's also really important to note that in Hey, they've built it in a way where you can route emails into one of 3 places. So every email I get does not end up in my inbox. In fact, it's quite the opposite. When you first sign up for Hey, you need to spend a little bit of time, like an investment of time, the way I would say it, is investing time into routing specific emails to certain places. And let me show you that. So in Hey, the inbox is called the inbox, and it's meant for important things. Only important things that you actually have to look at and see should be here. And there are a lot of different things this could be. This could be emails from people. It could be alerts from specific services that you have to look at. So right over here, I have an alert from Google for my website. There's a link that needs to be updated. So things like that are important and they should be in the inbox. But what you'll realize is when you switch to Hey and you start changing all your settings and routing things certain places, the majority of email you get is not meant to be in your inbox. And in Hey, you have 3 options. You have the inbox, you have the feed, and you have the paper trail. So let me talk about each of those. And before I even get to these, there's actually one more thing I should talk about, which is called the screener. So when you get a new email in Hey from someone that is emailing you for the first time, it'll end up in the screener. And the screener is a way for you to choose if you want to let those people into your email. If you hit no, it'll literally block them and you don't have any way of receiving those emails anymore. You can obviously go back and unblock them later, but you're screening them out. So if you're getting a bunch of junk mail from one specific sender and you don't want that anymore, you just screen them out and you never see them again. It's that simple. If you do want the email to come in, you can choose where it should go. So when you click yes, for example, it'll end up in your inbox by default. But this specific email is what seems to be a newsletter for podcasts. And maybe I want to keep up with this, something that I would like to look at once in a while, but I don't need to get these and look at these every single time they come in. So what they have for this is something called the feed. And I'm going to move this to the feed. And the feed is basically like a news feed. Think of it like a Facebook feed, like an Instagram feed. It's something you just scroll through for fun. And it's great to have these here. It's like a nice way to decompress almost. So like Allbirds, their shoes, I've bought them before. I have their email newsletter coming in here. My local Gurdwara newsletter. Anything that doesn't need to be read right away, but it's just nice to have that you want to look at occasionally. This is where I like to put all those emails. And I find this to be something I actually look forward to, because before I would just delete all these emails without even looking at it. But now I am much more likely to actually read these maybe once a week. Just sit down for a few minutes and just scroll through and see what comes up. And I've really enjoyed this, and it's been a really great way of keeping on top of my email, even the ones that I don't normally read. So that's the feed. Things that you don't need to see right away, but things you want to look at once in a while for fun. And then there's also something called the paper trail. And this is what I really like, because I have a lot of my emails just automatically going straight into the paper trail. And the paper trail is meant for things that you don't want to look at, but you need to have. So like Amazon receipts. This is the biggest thing I can give an example for. When you have a receipt for something you buy on Amazon, it's just something that you need to have, but you don't need to look at it, right? But it's a new email that comes into your inbox usually. I have all my Amazon emails going directly to the paper trail. So I know they're there. I know I want to keep those receipts. I need to have them there, but I don't need to look at them. So by default, all my Amazon things go straight to the paper trail. Same thing with my bank statements or my credit card bills or anything like that. All my financial stuff usually ends up in paper trail without me even looking at it. And it does take a bit of getting used to not seeing these emails anymore. And you could always go in and just scroll through and look at them once in a while if you're scared of missing something. But I went through my Gmail which I've been using for the past 10 years now. And I went through, and there's literally not one time where I needed to see an email from my bank. Not once. Because they always send you an alert via physical mail or a text message or a phone call, usually if it's something important. All the emails that you get are 99% of the time something you just need to have but not look at. So for those purposes, I have a lot of senders automatically being routed into the paper trail. And that frees up my inbox to be just important stuff. Between the feed and the paper trail, the majority of my email gets sent into those two buckets, and then everything else ends up in the inbox. And once you're in here, you do have a couple more options. When you have a new email, you could either look at it, read it, and then let it drop down into previously seen. Or the other option you have is to look at the email and then choose reply later. And this will put it into a new stack at the bottom over here where you can reply to the email later. And you can even open up the stack and hit go to focus and reply. And then you can have all your emails for reply later end up in one place and just reply to them one by one. Spend an hour doing that if you want during the week. The other option you have is setting it to aside. And the aside stack is really cool because it's just stuff that you need to have for reference, whether it's like a tracking number or some sort of conference you're registering for and you need the details in there, whatever it might be. Nothing you have to reply to, but something you need to keep handy for the short term. And I love this feature too. So I've been really enjoying it. That's kind of the high level overview. There is a lot more to Hey, which I'll link below in the description if you want to watch the full video showing you all the features, but that is the gist of it. Overall, I've been using Hey.com now for a couple of months and I absolutely love it. I do not see myself going back to Gmail at all. It's been an awesome experience, very refreshing to use a new service. But with that being said, I do want to call out a few more points that I think are really important to know before you make the switch. Firstly, Hey.com is not free. It does cost $100 a year to have an @hey.com email address. And I think this is actually a really good thing. Services like Gmail and other websites, they use your data as the product to make money. They use ads, they sell your data, things like that. Big tech, that's kind of what they do. But Hey.com is not like that. You're paying and you are the customer, and the email product is the product, not your data. And they're very privacy focused. So paying the $100 a year was not a big deal. I know it's expensive, but I honestly would prefer that over having my data used for ads. Secondly, I also want to talk about how Hey has an amazing support team. You can email support@hey.com and they have a very responsive team there, but I've been tweeting them using their @HeyHey Twitter handle, and that has been so much fun. They get back to me almost within minutes every single time, and they've been very responsive. So that's not something you're going to get on any other platform. And the last thing I want to mention is Hey.com is a very new service. They're really pushing right now to get new features out the door. They're moving very, very fast, and I love that. They've already pushed out some updates for things I've been asking for, and I don't see them slowing down anytime soon. If you're interested in using Hey.com, they do have a free trial. I'll leave a link for that down below. This video is not sponsored by any means, but if anyone at Hey.com is watching, hi, I would love to work with you guys. But this is a really good service, and I love it myself. That's why I'm suggesting it to you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, as always, you can always email me using maneethball@hey.com or leave a comment down below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.